Hello everybody, this is my math landscape picture. I chose this picture because I recently went to Magic Kingdom with my friends and it was my first adult trip by myself without my parents, so that's why this trip meant so much to me because I got to experience it with some of my closest friends and my boyfriend, so it was a lot of fun. The 8 areas that I focused on were cardinality, counting on, one-to-one correspondence, subsidizing, counting on, splitting, need for organization and keeping track, skip counting, and one-to-one tagging. So for cardinality, at my site, cardinality is being used all the time with the children without them even realizing it. When we're at the tables doing any activities, we are constantly playing with blocks and foam shapes and those little colorful bears. The children will count the amount of, let's say, blue bears or red bears or the square blocks, whatever it may be. And then they'll come to me and say, teacher, there's 5 blocks, look. And then they'll go ahead and count too. They'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 bears, teacher, woo! And they get really excited. For counting on, this can sometimes be tricky for the children and myself to realize that it's happening. So I sometimes forget that, like, oh yeah, they are counting on. But one day we were outside and we were just collecting flowers. We were collecting some yellow flowers and some purple flowers. And one of the little girls ran up to me and she noticed that there was more yellow flowers than the purple flowers. So she runs up to me and she says, teacher, hay más yellow flowers que purple. Mira, 2 flowers are small and 3 big flowers. And so I acknowledged her observation and I asked her how many she thought were in total. And she looked at me. She was like, there's 2 small flowers, 1, 2, and 3 big flowers, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 altogether, teacher. So her and I hadn't even noticed that she was counting on until now that I'm doing this. I kind of realized, oh, hey, they got that down. For one-to-one correspondence, during circle time, we always look and reference back to the calendar to see what day we're on and what day is going to be next and so on and so on. We focus on the month, on the weekday, and the specific date. The children get really excited when they are picked on to announce the date. Sometimes they forget their numbers, especially when it's a big number like 22, but they can ask a friend for help. So they know that correlation that, January 22nd, for example, is today. And they know that Tuesday is today and that the next day is going to mean Wednesday. And so they use those one-on-one correspondence for the calendar. For subitizing comes natural for us as adults, especially if it's a quantity lower than 5. I have noticed that this is the case for some of the children at my site as well. We often play with these flashcards that have a number, a picture, and the name of the number, spelled out in letters. So if there's 6 stars, for example, the children have to match that picture of 6 stars with its number and the name of the number in the alphabet. So if the number is less than 5, the majority of the children will know the amount presented on the picture without having to count. So now that I'm done with the children's experiences, I could then go ahead and focus on my own. And my first one is splitting. Now I think this experience is more of my sister's than my own, but I feel like I was there, so it kind of counts. So when my sister was in 3rd grade, she asked for help for her homework and she was introduced the splitting method. I think it was called something else, but it's essentially the same thing. Of course, she used Common Core in elementary. And so, for example, I was always taught that, 46 plus 33 equals 79. That's basically what I was taught. We were taught how to count and all that, but now you have to break down each number to its place value so it can supposedly make it easier to count on. And it just seems like a lot more work to me. So she ended up teaching me how to split count, and I was like so amazed because I'd never even thought of breaking down the number 46 into 40 plus 3 plus 3, or the number 33 into 30 plus 3. So it was just amazing to me. It just seemed like so much more work, but hey, that's what the kids got to do now. My second one is need for organization and keeping track. Staying organized in math is really important, especially to me because I'm really bad at math. So the longer the problems get and the harder they get, it only makes it easier when I stay organized. So I like to color code things when I'm, going my way about labeling my steps. So it comes easier to me, and then I don't go crazy with like all the numbers and the alphabets on my paper. It freaks me out. So also taking my time is really important, and I think that's a huge part of staying organized as well, because I know when I rush a problem and just skim through it really fast, there's a lot of constant errors, versus when I'm taking my time and knowing what each step is, then it leads me to the correct answer. Skip counting, I love to skip count. I think it's so fun how it makes your mind work and really think about, ooh, what's the next number. And so it's easy to count by twos, but when you start getting higher numbers, it kind of takes me a while to think about it, but it's cool at the same time. I feel like I skip count all the time, whether it's counting how many children there are at my school, or how many documents I have to input at my work, or how many papers I have to cut. So sometimes they ask me to cut papers at my site, and instead of cutting one by one, I'll cut by twos, or I'll cut by threes, depending on how well the scissors are. And so I know 3, okay, 6, 9, and so on and so on. It just helps with staying organized, and it's a lot faster than just counting by ones. So last but not least, one-to-one tagging. When I think of this, I think of matching. I think of matching a specific number to its correspondence. So for example, when I'm with the children and we are outside counting rocks, some may point to the rocks at a faster pace than they count each one. So they don't synchronize their pointing with their counting sequence, and then they end up with the incorrect number. And so I know that there have been times when I'm taking a head count of how many children there are in the classroom. I think we've all done this before. And I'll count too fast and I come up with the wrong number. So I go back and I point to each child, and that kind of helps me mentally, knowing that my finger is pointing to the child. So it kind of like directs me, knowing how many there are. And then I come and find the correct answer. That concludes my math landscape. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope I did this right too. Have a fabulous week, and hopefully all y'all got your projects done as well.